Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Mini RPG of the Week. We are delighted to have Orion back with us. Orion, it's been a little while since we've managed to have you on.
It's been a hot minute since I've done a Mini RPG of the Week. I have to say, it's probably way back in Season 2. I think the last map that I did, or the last two maps that I've done actually, have been horrendously cut. I remember, I think it was the last one that I did, that Lars found a reroute, and then a faster reroute, and then an even faster reroute. And ended up winning that cup. So maybe we're cursed. Maybe we get another super cut track today. We'll have to see.
I mean, cursed or blessed, right? There's two sides to that. Sure. It's always fun seeing cuts come up because a lot of the time in an RPG track, they are very interesting. Of course, players will only have 15 minutes in the warm-up to really start to find that before round one. It's always risky to be cut hunting mid-round in live rounds as well. And I think they're going to be too busy admiring the track around them this week, Orion, because we have a map by DRXPZ that is going to be in the style of those classic Trackmania Nations Forever's RPG maps.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, Trackmania Nations Forever is an arcade racing game that was released in April of 2008. The objective of the game is to set the fastest time on any track you play, so it's literally made for time trial competition and speedrunning. The game has a campaign of 65 tracks, and with millions of players over the years, the world records on these 65 tracks have become incredibly prestigious to hold. This broadcast will focus on the 6th edition of the Mini RPG of the Week Season 3, on a map built in the style of the world's most competitive racing game. This is the live world record history of procrastinating by DRXPZ.
And I mean, what a name for a map, isn't it? Procrastinating as well, built while he was off, meant to be doing schoolwork. And I guess we'll see how well that has worked out. I hope the schoolwork is going well for them as well, because, you know, very important to focus on your education at the same time. We're all for that here on Mini RPG of the Week. Just don't ask me how many years it took me to get through my 4-year degree. I've just noticed the Twiggy has joined the server, and I'm very excited.
Well. I'm very excited. Time for some shade to be thrown to it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm pretty sure at this point he is a better Trackmania player than me.
Sorry. Can we focus on this guy's name? This guy's name is Britney's Gears.
It's an excellent name.
That is fantastic.
I also love the style of this track already. It is very much that classic undecorated style. It has been built with a focus on only using TMNF blocks. And you can tell, right? Like, these will look very familiar to anyone who has been playing since TMNF. You know, even all the way through Stadium, these were kind of the blocks. This is what they looked like.
Yep, well, we're going to see the GPS here, and we'll have a look at what the map looks like. The mapper says if there's any section. We asked the mapper if there was any sections or tricks they wanted to highlight. He says checkpoint 4 with the blue wall and ramp jump, as it gives the best TMNF feelings. I think we're yet to see it here. Is that checkpoint 3, or have I miscounted already, Noah?
I think you might be at checkpoint 3. I think you were right, and then this being checkpoint 4 onto this ramp, yeah, and then the jump on up, just a little jump at the end, and it's going to be, yeah, precision driving, and then over that hump jump on the middle as well. I'm loving this so far, honestly.
Same.
Genuinely, it's going to be so much fun to watch the players start to drive it as well. And I do think, Orion, looking at a map like this in this very tight style with a lot of blocks all over the place that aren't necessarily all being used, I mean, hey, cut possibility is definitely there.
Yeah, it definitely has that kind of like vanilla RPG feel to it, but still with a lot of complexity. Like, we're watching the GPS time at the moment. According to the mapper, a good time would be a low 1:13 to 1:12, but the best times could possibly be as low as 1 minute 10. So the mapper clearly thinks that there is room to be pushing all the lines here, and I think that that's what we were seeing in that GPS run. There is a lot of room for optimization. The route itself isn't too hard once you get the pathfinding down. It is just kind of reducing airtime, getting those jumps smooth, getting those transitions smooth. Exactly how TMNF classic RPG used to be back in the day.
And it's so fun seeing that style start to get ported over. It's taken, I wouldn't say a long time for the RPG community to get its feet under it in 2020, but, you know, there definitely was a lot of mappers and things who kind of stayed behind on the older games, you know, preferred the way that the car felt in that for the RPG, where your acceleration penalties weren't as hard. If you bonked things, allowed you to build tricks that relied a little bit more on car control and putting it into really weird spaces, whereas RPG maps and mini RPG maps as well in 2020 tend to go for that more flowy feel, right? Like where things are just one continuous movement from one checkpoint to the next rather than relying on that balance or maybe making things a little bit awkward, and trying to capture as much of that feel as possible in that game where, again, the acceleration penalties are higher here where you can't quite nail exactly the same feel. Getting as close to it as possible is really fun, and this is DRXPZ, a mapper who did map back in the older games as well in TMNF. Their first map here on TM 2020, and I think they nailed it.
Yeah, as this section looks really difficult. Like, we were focusing on Twiggy there, and it's easy to criticize, but it seems like all the players are struggling there. It's like a lot of blocks just obviously not placed randomly. There is an intended route, but it's hard to keep the speed up because the car is constantly wanting to dip its nose down. We've seen Atalata do it there, but to get that cleanly in rounds, that's rough. It's a really rough, bumpy surface. And then you've also got to get the speed as well. There's a speed check right at the end of it. So I feel like we're going to see a lot of players being caught out by that. It's definitely not like an RNG thing, but it's probably one of those things that when driving it feels a little bit more like luck than judgment half the time.
Absolutely, and as has also been pointed out here in chat, this is definitely a slightly longer map than we have seen in some of our previous weeks. Even that good time of 110, you know, we've had a tendency to some shorter maps just for a little while here, and it's nice to see a longer one come back in, and one where definitely there's just a lot of small moments that are going to make the difference, right? One clip in some of these sections is not going to end it, but you are going to kill your speed. And at some points that will kill your run for a little while as you fail a speed check and need to fully respawn. But there are just going to be lots of small make or break moments between even top players in later rounds.
Yeah, I'm noticing we have a 20-minute warm-up timer. Is that correct?
I would imagine that's correct, just because this is a slightly longer map. It's the way is going to be less intuitive for some players as well than maybe some of the other maps that we have. So just a slightly longer warm-up to give them a chance to try things out.
Yeah, well, we've had 5 minutes so far, and so far only 3 players have finished. I imagine most people watching the GPS, because on a twisty track like this full of blocks, it can be difficult to get that pathfinding done kind of manually. So most people have opted for the automatic option, and that's taken up about a minute and 10 seconds of their time. And then actually finding the route is proving to be difficult, but we've got some familiar names hosting times. Sapphire, Corzo, Hazard, Ice, and is that Weege, I think?
That is Weege as well, who is also posted a time at the moment. Yeah, taking a while for players to find their way through, and still a little bit of that pathfinding going on for the players who didn't take the GPS. Atalata is still out on track, desperately hunting for something that won't just lead to bashing their face into a wall over and over again and having to respawn, not finding it that time of asking. I'll be honest, I watched the GPS and I don't remember exactly where to go. It's around.
No, I was going to say the same thing. I've forgotten where to go as well. So
straight up, oh, there it is. It was up into the finish. Absolutely lovely. I think only one finish as well. We saw obviously that one with the GPS. I guess we'll find out if there is a second finish hidden somewhere as well.
Yeah, we didn't see a risky fin in the GPS.
I don't think so. Unless that is the risky fin and we're missing a safe one. But I mean, it doesn't look that's not the hardest speed check in the map, put it this way. I'd be surprised if that was the risky fin and there was a safer fin for it.
No, and as it's a non-plastic bounce as well, it should hopefully provide the same result each time of actually getting you over.
Yeah, for sure.
So
100%.
I mean, to go back to my opening monologue, Trackmania is a deterministic game where every input will result in the same output. But yeah, sometimes the plastic bounces can be a bit crazy. But it doesn't seem like the players are going to be having that issue because plastic did not exist in TMNF. And we are seeing probably one of the only full road mini RPG of the weeks that we've had.
Yeah, that's also true. I mean, these thin walls, you know, in TMNF, they kind of serve the same function as pipes do now in some maps too. But I think definitely more prevalent in RPG and mini RPG back then as well, because they just forced a bit of precision driving without having some of the annoyances. Obviously, the pipes being fully rounded, as the dad goes for a bit of a skydive there. The pipes being fully rounded, you know, at times does annoy some players, and I think annoys some mappers as well. With these tops of walls being just that little bit wider, it's a little bit easier to kind of set up ways to force players to either choose to lose speed or risk anyway going onto them, and players can be a little bit braver heading into them as well.
Yeah, those walls can be a blessing or a curse though, because like pipes, they've got a curved edge. So if you maybe go slightly over, you can save it. But if you get a wheel hooked over the edge of that wall and the car just does not want to come back over, you're instantly respawning there. I would say it's definitely harder to fall off the pipes, but I feel like it's harder to make, or it's easier to make a mistake on the walls, because if you stick a wheel off, you're getting axle penned, unfortunately.
We do have the mapper in chat confirming no extra finishes, and I'm just going to ask for confirmation that we're pronouncing your name correctly. Are you just with the full DRXPZ? Do we just say every letter, or should I go for, you know, DrexPZ? I don't know here. I just got to know the answers.
Well, we're getting a few more players finish now. We're down to a 113 from Sapphire, and Mapper said low 113, low 112 would be a good time. So players starting to find their feet and find their rhythm now. I mean, 10th place is still a 243, so there's still a lot of the field that are yet to really kind of get a major improvement under their belt and get a clean run. But we've still got another 10 minutes, thankfully. So I think by that time we'll probably see maybe the top 10 all within the 113s, maybe a 112 in there as well, because that's quite an early big improvement from Sapphire.
Yep. We did jump on board with Twiggy for a little while earlier, and we're back on board again to see what improvements he has made over the last little while. See what they're up to. Twiggy now is heading through the course. I think we're past the section that we saw them struggling a lot on earlier. Yeah, we are. I think we're well past it. Probably.
I think there is a sort of strat for that. It seems like, because a lot of players were just trying to beeline it, but it actually seems like if you zigzag a little bit more and just try and hold on to those smooth surfaces, you actually maintain speed, you don't clip as much, and it seems a bit more consistent. So I saw one player, I can't remember who it was, go way out over to the right and then cut back to the left, and that was a lot more successful than just kind of going straight for the block at the end.
Now, that makes sense. I'm enjoying watching this struggle right now, and it's not just sadism, although it's a little bit of that as well. It's
got it.
He's managed to get it. It's also because that's one of those things in RPGs and mini RPGs in general where there is something like this jump, right, where you just can't figure it out. Like, you just can't quite get the line in your head, and you're just missing the entire time, to the point where you're kind of like, is this even real? Does this make sense? Am I going the right way? And then after a little while, something just clicks, right? And you have the setup down, and it just works flawlessly every time. And you're like, I can't believe I was ever struggling with this. What was I thinking at the time? And again, it's one of those fun elements of just, you know, feeling the improvement happen round on round, or attempt after attempt, is really nice.
Well, we're on board with Ice now in the warm-up, who is one of the players that seems to be setting more consistent times. Currently third on a 119. See if he can finish this run cleanly as well. A lot of little bumpy transitions, but that's like so classic of TMNF. You saw Ice there take that line slightly over to the right, cuts back to the left, and it's a little bit safer. He goes onto the wall with a lot of speed, actually, but full risking it, paying off over this little hump there. You probably want to try and get over right over the top of that as well, and that is probably not intentional from Ice, but reduces airtime nonetheless. Should be finishing this run here. I don't think there are really any more curveballs that the map throws at you after this point. Drift nice. This is... I don't think that's a Neo slide, because you're coming off the ramp and probably losing a bit of traction, which will allow you to get that drift. Yeah, Corzo as well, just in front of him on quite a good run. This should be a nice time from Ice. He's going to be in front of Corzo. Goes right up to the top of the timings with a 1:11.1. Is 2.5 seconds faster than anything we've seen so far. So that is what the map looks like when driven cleanly. But we'll see how many players can get to that point by the end of the warm-up.
I mean, look, you got to add the extra ones in there as well. It's not just 1:11.1, it's 1:11.111. It's a lot of ones, and he's in first place. And his name basically starts with a 1 as well. It's an Ice. It's I, basically. It's kind of. Not really. Hey, Twiggy is the number 8 local record. Go on, Twiggy. Massive performance right now. Currently sitting up there. It is now, we have to be fair, a 125. There is a struggle for players to start to push these times down. And despite that extended 20-minute warm-up, we are still over halfway through it. And, you know, time is running out to really get comfortable.
Yeah, I think at this point, it's looking like one of those mini RPG of the weeks where it's more about survival than you need to drive fast to stay in.
Absolutely.
It's a difficult map. It's got a lot of transitions. It's got a lot of speed checks as well. A lot of potential for clips. This wall doesn't seem to be catching players out too much. It's a little bit janky, but as long as you make it through without a respawn, you should be okay. And even with a respawn, to be honest, like, if you fail it, probably the best thing you can do is just double respawn, because the wall is right in front of you at the end of the day. So you're only going to lose maximum a couple of seconds if you do opt for that double respawn and just drive over it. You could, with the double respawn, you can probably just drive full speed over it, to be honest.
Yeah, and I also think going for the double respawn makes a lot more sense, because realistically, if you are hitting that wall wrong, it's to do with your lineup. And if you just go for a single respawn, you're going to have the same lineup, and you're going to fly out again and waste even more time before going for the double respawn. So respawn strats, they're a thing, especially in mini RPG of the week, when, you know, you do have to make that decision nice and quickly. It can be the difference between losing a second and losing 2 seconds to your respawn, and that's relevant in a lot of times.
We have a new name at the top of the leaderboard, and that is our familiar face, Hazard, with the first 110 of the evening. That was a 1:10.8, beating Ice by about 0.3 of a second. So, yeah, it's starting to bunch up a little bit right at the very top. But as you say, 15th place still on a 1:43. So, if we talk about like the top 15 driving PB pace in rounds, that's a 33-second gap, i.e. 15th place would not make it. We would literally have, what, 14 players left after the first round?
that might be. That's a lot. How long are we going to have? We're going to 1 minute and 5 seconds of finish timeout for the first few rounds. Okay. We're gonna have a bit of time. Look, it's been taken into account. Okay, Zederate is aware of the fact that this is going to be a tough map, because of course Zederate works with the mappers on these. You know, make sure that everything is up to scratch, making sure that the maps play well when it comes down to it, and it's definitely a difficult job given the need to minimize the amount of play testers that are brought in for something that's meant to be a surprise to the players each week. Yep,
I still think we're going to see a bit of a culling in the first round, to be honest.
Oh, absolutely.
The bottom half of the pack struggles, but yeah, I think a minute and 5 seconds is reasonable. Like, we should see the majority of the field finish the first couple of rounds. But yeah, it might be a bit of a bloodbath. Should we watch Twiggy again? See how he's doing now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just watching as the number 21 local record is over a minute and a half behind the current record, which, yeah, it's going to be rough in that first couple of rounds for sure. We'll see how well they do it. I mean, Twiggy probably going to be safe unless something goes disastrously wrong. I mean, he's caster cursed so many people. I think it's only fair if I caster curse them instead, you know?
Yeah. I mean, he seems to be navigating... Wait, sorry. Does he use they, them pronouns?
I think he's okay with he, but also is using non-binary pronouns a decent amount of the time now.
Thank you.
Yes.
I
don't remember exactly what was in the tweet, but I'm pretty sure I've got it.
All right. Thanks for that. So, yeah, they're currently 10th, and how far off the pace? Only 7 seconds off our new leader, Corzo, 1:10.5. So that's pretty good going, to be honest.
Beating the entire Irish contingent by themselves at the moment, you know? Very solid. Now, there is an Irish contingent in the server tonight as well. We've seen a few of them. Walshy is there, Babs is there. Who else did I see? I definitely saw some other of the Irish players in here. I mean, that's not what you want to see, though. Struggles on the first turn, all right? We gotta clean that up now, boys. Gotta make sure that we're making it through the first turn at least cleanly.
Yeah, but I mean, even that first turn is difficult. Like, if you land in a bad slide there and just lose all your speed, you're flipping that next turn. So this map just feels like a snowball of errors. Like, you make one mistake and there we go. We've seen it from Bronson there. And immediately your run grinds to a very painful halt. And the other thing is, you know, like, checkpoint-wise, we don't really know how kind the respawns are as well. Like, if you're clipping right after a checkpoint, that's rough. Because then if you double respawn, I'm sure the map has been tested. But if you then double respawn, it's going to make things awkward, like really awkward.
Yeah, like I can't imagine that this checkpoint is particularly kind to the double respawn. You know, I think we see Bronson there going in with quite low speed, and yeah, it's gonna be a tough time. I'm honestly a little bit surprised that we're not seeing more players practice the double respawn for that checkpoint in particular. We've seen a few players trying to practice it with dodgy respawns, just going for the single, but very few cars just sitting there double respawning and going again, and that, I think that's going to be an issue for a couple of people in rounds. I'm going to call it now.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is, look at how big the start respawn is. Like, we saw Abe make a clip, and like, it was a tiny little clip, but because of the obstacles that are coming at you so quickly straight after, it just forces another clip and another clip, and then you don't have enough speed to get to the checkpoint, and then you're right back at the start. I feel like we could see at least 5 players fall foul of that. Then you're at this section, which is just like...
Oh, it's the double respawn.
Pure death.
Yeah.
Yeah, double respawn doesn't seem to work there either, so you've just got to keep respawning and hope... Wait a minute. No, I thought there was a cut there. There is not a cut. Thank you very much for disproving that.
Yeah, lovely. But what if...
Wait.
Oh,
there's a note.
But this is not cutting. This is pathfinding.
This is inside the mind of a Trackmania player, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a dark and scary place, and I want to get out.
Oh, he's made it. I mean, all right, let's check the leaderboard. We got a minute left. Hazard first with a 1:10.5. Corzo not too far behind. Ice on that 1:11.1 that we saw him drive. Then Yozo on a 1:11.2. Vortex on a 1:11.2. Then we're into the 1:13s, so skipping the 1:12s entirely. Dar on a 1:13. Sapphire 1:13.7. And all the way back to 15th is a 1:22.9 now. So the field has bunched up a bit. It's 12 seconds between first and 15th as of right now. I'd expect rounds pace to be somewhere around the 1:16 mark, I would say. And maybe like for the back of the pack, you probably want to be driving a 1:25 or better to be like feeling like you're safe, at least for the first half of the rounds. And then beyond that, we'll just see what the players can push it to.
Yeah, makes sense. And we have Zetter8 in-game chat there saying that he's going to push the timeout all the way up to 90 seconds for these first few rounds. I think seeing what's going on with the field, not entirely unfair, as even this first turn has caused some issues immediately. I'm going to say it now. This is a map where you definitely want to make sure that you have your respawn key unbound for the live rounds here. You do not want to accidentally DNF a map, because there are going to be plenty of situations, I think, for every player where you are going to otherwise just hit it out of reflex.
Yeah, it's literally just survival of the fittest here. Everyone is dropping like flies as Yozo just flies straight through the wall, ignores it completely. I don't know if he was maybe trying a bounce or something, whether he'd found something, or you can just kind of go straight over, but regardless, it didn't work, and it looked very funny as well, so I will take that. But Sapphire is the one out in front at the moment, but you can see how spread out the field are. Obviously, this isn't a live round, no KO this round. We've got 30 players in total. Well, no, actually, I was going to say I think we might even lose half the field in the first round, but we've got a minute and 30, so it's basically going to be, you know, you've got 2.5, 3 minutes. He made it all the way to the end without making a mistake.
Head first into that final block. Is there a no steer that we haven't seen at the end there? Is
Surely
that what just
not.
happened?
Surely not.
Ooh, buzzer.
I mean, it's
okay.
TMNF. There's no effect blocks, right? Apart from engine off.
That's true. Were they introduced mostly in... That's... Yeah. Boosters and engine off blocks then
that's it.
Is all there was. Yeah. No, that's fair.
But we can confirm it was his own stupidity.
Yeah. It was the brain no steer coming in rather than the no steer block. I mean, hey, at least it was in this warm-up round rather than in the live rounds. Only 36 players in the server tonight, Orion. I think, look, we have at least Keenus in chat coming in and saying that took one look at the map and said, nope. It's definitely a difficult one, and that will have scared some people off who joined and have left since. And I guess we'll see exactly how many players we do get eliminated. Jaxie in Twitch chat is saying 10 in the first round. Would you care to make your own guess?
Well, I mean, this is the warm-up round, and
Hmm.
currently Bazut is just about finishing, and he'll be in 24th. So I'm going to say 5. I think 5.
Okay. Yeah.
In under
I'll look.
ordinary circumstances, 10 would be absolutely right. An underestimate, if
Yeah.
anything. But yeah, because of this 1 minute 30 DQ timer, yeah, I think it will probably be about 5.
I will split the difference and say that 7.5 people will be eliminated. One player is going to finish, but then decide they don't want to play and quit after the round has ended. And that will be 7.5 players eliminated in round 1. But we'll see how well it actually goes here for... We're on board with Yorsh, who's immediately on the struggle bus, along with, well, about a third of the field as well. Even this first checkpoint is a struggle for people to get past. Just this first jump, Lazed in front there is once again going into a poles, catching people out. And Yorsh is through to that first checkpoint alongside Darrigan.
Yeah, we mentioned it in the warm-up, didn't we? That first checkpoint is such a long one. I mean, especially compared to how easy it is to get to the second checkpoint from the first one. But yeah, all the way back to the start for about a third of the field. We are on board with Yorsh as we watch Sapphire overtake him. Might have enough speed, and he does. Just about by the skin of his teeth. He's in 23rd, 22nd right now, so he is in the safe zone. Only 4 players being eliminated in this round. On, like, how do I say this? 4 players definitely being eliminated.
4 players eliminated on pace.
Thank you. Yes. Well,
Yeah.
no, that's not right either, because someone might
Well,
be
if your
slow
pace
enough.
is outside 90 seconds, then you're eliminated on pace, but also on timeout, rather than all the cars in front of you just finishing faster than you.
Okay.
You get me?
Long-winded way of saying it, but it was better than me just saying nothing, so I'll take it. But, yeah, where are we then? So we've got 1 minute and 15 left on the DQ timer. Corzo has driven a 1:11.7 in this round, which is pretty competitive, not the fastest time we've seen, which was a 1:10.5. But then Yozo 2.7 behind, Ice 3.4 behind, and Maxime 3.5 behind. So it basically just seems like a person that is probably going to win the cup is the person that just makes the least mistakes over the course of all of the rounds. I don't think that pace is even going to really come into it, to be honest. Like, second place there, 2.7 behind. That's not a difference in pace. That's just a couple of clips through the map, or maybe a respawn, and that's decided who finished first and who finished second in this round.
And I mean, unfortunately, it's not even necessarily just less mistakes over the course of the entire evening. It could just be who makes the most mistakes in that final round. It'll be the 2 players who've made the least probably to get there, but I mean, that's the beauty and the frustration of this elimination format, right? Is you need to be on your game at all times, but especially when things get tighter. Swiss Goalie is probably not going to finish at this point, and we'll see how many players are actually going to go out. Swiss Goalie and Swiss Time, it is looking like, will both be eliminated. Only 4 eliminated at the end, and Swiss Time was safely in. Never mind what I was saying, and well, that 90-second timeout has allowed everyone to get across the line who wanted to.
Yep, does seem that way. Only 4 players eliminated, and that will be music to the ears of some of the players that were probably struggling on this map in the warm-up. As Sapphire, I don't think he's going to make that, and he doesn't think he's going to make it either, so straight back to the start for him. It's like a big game of snakes and ladders, isn't it? You get the start right, and you're immediately off, but it's like rolling a 10, and that just happens to have a snake on it that goes all the way back to 1, and you are literally just right back at the start again while everyone else is making progress.
Yeah, well, here's Twiggy in 23rd place, and they are going to be trying to make up some places. I think back up in 22nd. No longer red, but definitely still hoping for a couple more mistakes in front. I think Twiggy definitely was starting to look consistent over the middle and back half of the map, and I think a lot of players were very focused on getting those first few turns down. Yeah, look at the amount of respawns, although there's another one from Twiggy as well, and all of a sudden they are in danger. Although there's Edith respawning as well. We'll see when players get to the next checkpoint. You can see now as Twiggy and Edith start to fall down the rankings, now in 22nd place. Will that be true at the next checkpoint? Down into 23rd.
He's got they've got 3 seconds to make up. Make that 2. Make that 5. Oh dear. They seem quite consistent, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was a top 10 time that they set.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would be a shame to lose Twiggy this early on after they made such good progress in the warm-up.
Yeah, and they're in a tight battle as well back here with Maxime. That is going to be, I believe, potentially for the final spot in, and Twiggy will keep going as Maxime has crashed out. Bazoot is just in front, and it's going to be Twiggy crashing out. Twiggy, what are you doing? Twiggy! Twiggy! You fool! What was that? Oh no! Jaxie not as well. Oh, I can't take it. All the regulars gone. That was a deeply upsetting finish from Twiggy.
Yeah, I think just went a bit too far to the right, to be honest. Was like, had it, would have been in like, would they have been in 22nd? Maybe?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, because they were in that race with Maxime, and they did. Maxime made it in, and they were ahead of Maxime.
Well then, 22 players left out of 30 that started, and still it is just chaos. Like,
absolutely.
We're not even really seeing a front pack. We're just seeing like players drop like flies intermittently, and then the pack is just strung out over the course of the map.
There's Ice. I mean, currently sitting in 21st place.
He's right at the back.
Yeah, I mean, that is partly, hey, having to respawn on the very first checkpoint is obviously immediately going to drop you a long way down. There's plenty of track left to make it up. But that early, the mistake on the first checkpoint is absolutely brutal. There's mistakes in the middle, though. Ice, I think, had to respawn again just there, possibly as well. So any ground made up has just been reset a little bit, but managed to overtake Walshy and Babs along the way. Didn't, in fact. Look, there is Walshy, slightly up the road. How clear is this pack? It looks like all three of the players on screen at the moment are sitting in the safe spots behind them. Yogg, Bronson, Yorsha, and Babs, and joining them will be Z-Cub.
Yeah, there was a player there just made a mistake and ended up almost in a nose bug. I think it was lazed, but not quite safe. 19th.
And Walshy.
Walshy comes through. Wait, they are safe. Lazed in 18th right now. Walshy just in front. We've just got this this jump. Yeah, it's Yorsh in 19th now, so he is leading the remainder of the pack. But yeah, it seems like this jump here, this turn, catching a few players out, but all three getting it. I don't know if there are any respawns further up the field, but it is going to be a close battle here between Yorsh and Edis, but I think Lazed has just about managed to get in, and Babs coming in last. We say goodbye to one of the Irish players. Nua, your thoughts on that, please?
I'll make sure to make fun of him on the Cup of the Day podcast happening after this mini RPG of the week stream over on the British Irish Trackmania channel. Make sure everyone jumps over for that as well, and we can all make fun of Babs together.
Yeah, sounds like good fun to me. But I think that was definitely felt like a shorter round. More players finishing in less time, I would say. And I mean, hey, we're already top 18.
Yeah, last round of 4 eliminations, and it was very close at the back there. I mean, sure, they were all eliminated, but there were 3 players finishing within 4 or 5 tenths of each other at the finish line too. And all the way down to the end, in true mini RPG of the week style, there are places to be gained, even on that last checkpoint, and that could be enough to keep yourself safe when you really need to. Walshy's going to fall off that beam, as has been said in the in-game chat. Look at one of these blue beams wrong, and you will end up falling off it. And definitely being true for players over the course of this one. Swift's time will clip an edge, and Brittany's gears will go cruising on through.
I'm wondering if we've seen any better times. I swear we used to have a graphic where the leaderboard stayed up on the right-hand side. Am I missing? There it is.
Has turned it off. Yeah, no, the player turned it off to make things clean.
What
to make it look nice.
I want to see what the times are. Corzo's done a 1:10.0. So that is an improvement. He is now half a second faster than Hazard, and Vortex on 1:10.7 as well. So yeah, those top 5 all within 1.2 seconds of each other as things stand. So we might actually get a couple of clean rounds once we get down to the top 8, but I doubt it. I
mean, I think Corzo in particular has been consistent over the last couple of rounds. I think pretty much constantly up in that top 2 or 3, so definitely if anyone is going to be up there, if there was such a thing as a safe bet on this map at the moment, it might be Corzo. Lazed will crash out, Bazoot will go out as well. The Irish occupy positions 17 and 18 on this one, and will be eliminated on the final round of 4. Joining them, the player from Loading Dargan is gone, and Sapphire as well.
Yeah, Sapphire was quite up the the leaderboards at one point. I think he was top 10. So, yeah, he's gone. I think we still have Walshian, so Team Ireland still has at least one representative. There is a chance, but I think he's been...
Clipped.
Yeah,
he did clip.
I was going to say he's been at the back for the majority of the past couple of rounds.
But still here.
It's still there. He's managed to make that speed check at the start without having to respawn. And currently occupying 10th place. And now we only eliminate 2 players at a time, so a bit less cause for concern, shall we say, for those slower players, as even if they find themselves in the bottom 4, only the bottom half of that bottom 4 will be eliminated from now on.
Walshy fully safes across the beam there as well after the disaster of the last round, making sure it doesn't go wrong, and it's paid off, right? There was a lot of respawns behind there. Unfortunately, that clip means that most of those respawns have re-overtaken, and Walshy will fall back down towards about 9th, 10th place on this one, but still plenty safe. Yozo is towards the back. Tada was just in front, may not be still just in front on this one. Swiss Time, I think, is still there. The name tag had disappeared, but has managed to hold on, and after I praised Corzo for consistency in previous rounds, here they are sitting at the back, currently in 12th place and just on the edge of getting eliminated.
Yeah, I think another mistake from Corzo, and that's it. But I think he's got through the hard part of the map now. Just needs to make sure that he lines it up nicely for the finish and doesn't bonk into that pole, which he has done so. So it is Yozo and Swiss Time being eliminated here. Corzo right on the edge. That is our #1 player on the leaderboard. I will remind you, Hazard with a 110 that round, so he's only a 10th of Corzo now. Yeah, Corzo just surviving by the skin of his teeth and will progress forwards.
And there is, of course, Orion, you may be aware, but probably aren't, overarching lore for all of the Season 3 maps.
Go on, do tell.
Which we do make up on the spot on every broadcast.
Okay.
And I don't remember any of it. Oh. Except there was some kind of sci-fi theme going on, tying some of them together. Then there was the broadcast where I let the 2 guys I know in real life loose. And I'll be honest, I'm scared to go back and check what they came up with. It can't have been good. I will say that someone clearly found a time machine to bring us back to this map. It's a time travel arc.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good map. It's just incredibly difficult. Like, I'm sure all the TMNF Andes... all the TMNF Andes will be licking their lips at this, and I imagine that it will probably get hunted quite a bit as well by some OG TMNF players that have now moved over to TM 2020 or still play a lot of TMNF. Because, yeah, it does seem like a really good map, and the map is right. It's classic TMNF style. So, yeah, for those players that still enjoy this kind of transitional RPG style where it's just all roadblocks, all vanilla Trackmania Nations Forever blocks, it's a really huntable map. But yeah, it's proving very difficult for a fast learning. Gears, he's not going to be fast enough.
Oh, Britney's Gears is alive! Britney's Gears lives on!
How?
I don't know. Zcub, I believe, was in front, possibly, and did have to respawn, or it was Tada. One of the 2 respawning from somewhere up the road on that final checkpoint. And Britney's Gears crosses the line in 10th place, and that means that, well, I don't know who Britney's Gears actually is. I really do hope that's a player who does consistently play under that name. And that we get to put Britney's Gears on the Liquipedia page.
Yeah, that's going to be immortalized forever on the Liquipedia page now. It's fantastic. Juicy Guy, can I see leaderboard, please? Because I think we just saw the first 109 driven in rounds. That is correct. Yes, a 109.1 from Ice. That is blistering pace.
It's just gone. It looked like we were reaching the limits of what players were going to find on this track. And then Ice just drives nearly a full second faster than it. That is insane pace from the Ice guy on that round. And in true, I think, Trackmania World Tour fashion, after setting an incredibly fast time, immediately finds themselves at the back. But some mistakes around them has put himself back up into 6th place and contention on this round. It's Corzo and Atalata who are in danger at the moment.
Yeah, we're seeing quite a few times the players right at the top, Ice and Corzo, tend to find themselves in the red towards the start of the map. Corzo still in the reds for the time being, 9th place. But I think just going to be getting in front. Britney's Gears looks like they're going to be surviving for another round as How did you pronounce this? Is it Maxime or Maxime or what?
I was saying Maxime, but Maxime makes a lot of sense as well, given that that is a French name and a French flag. So we'll stick with Maxime then, but not for much longer, as Maxime will nearly pull a Twiggy and jump out at the right-hand side. It wouldn't have mattered either way, as Maxime is eliminated in 9th place. Atalata will go out in 10th, a strong performance on a very difficult map.
Yep. As we say, 10th is onto that Liquipedia page, and we are into the top third now and beyond, as we now have top 8. No new records that time. I think that Ice 109-1 is probably going to stay for a while, even after players continue to hunt this map following the end of the Cup. But we might start to see some more consistent rounds now. Maybe. Is Walshy still in? Oh, Team Ireland.
Walshy is still in. Yeah, into the top 8 with a mistake there at the start. Walshy is going to be in 7th place, but definitely within touch of that pack in front. And, well, we'll see who can keep it clean. It won't be Walshy is the immediate answer. So now looking for mistakes in this difficult next section, definitely where some players have been getting caught out. Again, it'll be Walshy who gets caught out. It's not ideal for the chances of Walshy recovering, if I'm honest.
What? Every time you said, well, this might happen to some players in front of him, instead of happening to some players in front of him, it happened to Walshy himself, which is not ideal, as we see. There are 3 players in a bit of a fight here for elimination. It's Walshy, Deloitte, and Brittany's Gears, who was respawning with that double respawn. Yeah, in an ideal world. Wait, who do you want? You want Walshy or do you want Brittany's Gears?
I want Walshy. I don't know. I'm so torn, okay? Walshy versus Brittany's Gears, the battle that we didn't know we needed until right this moment. And it will come down to this final checkpoint around the outside. Brittany's Gears has the lead.
Oh, they both respawn.
They both respawn. They're both gone hand in hand into the void. Deloitte will take the spot instead. No, wait. Bronson respawned as well. It's back down to the line. Brittany's Gears is in front by less than a 10th. Bronson gave us the battle.
Where did Bronson go? Where did he go? I didn't even see
Walshy,
that last checkpoint is such bait because you don't see the respawn.
Yeah, there's the full dog leg around the corner and you don't see the respawn up there. Yep, I love it.
Man, and it's genuinely the easiest part of the map as well. It's just drive straight up a map and up a ramp and PF. Like, we've seen 2 players do that now. I can't remember who was saved before, but yeah, that's happened twice. But now we're down to 1 elimination per round, and Corzo finds himself way back, 11 seconds back. So it's gonna need a compendium of mistakes from those in front of him to allow Corzo back in. And it would be a shame to lose Corzo as well, because he's currently 3rd and is probably one of the top contenders to win. But yeah, he is miles back. Absolutely miles back.
I mean, you can at least see one car only just going around the corner there in front of him. And that means, look, there's a chance. It's a slim chance, but there is a chance. He's definitely closed that gap down to less time than it was previously to the cars in front, but it's still huge. Vortex is there in front, and Corzo will once again make a mistake. It actually gotten in front of Hazard, but that mistake may be what ultimately ends up costing Corzo the round. I will stay on board with Hazard, I guess, for a second there, and really it comes down to mistakes in front at the moment. I'm not convinced we're going to see another one big enough to let Corzo through. It is a long respawn here. We'll find out at the finish line. Has anyone else respawned? I'm going to say I really doubt it at this point, and the answer is no. Corzo will finish in 6th place. And yeah, I did say I thought Corzo was a top contender tonight. Was looking consistent for a while, but it did start to fall off a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, even now at top 5, the winning time there was a 1:16. And our fastest time so far is a 1:09, and most of these players have set like 1:11s or 1:12s at this point. So it just shows that the difficulty really is still hampering all of these players, because Ice has had bad rounds. We've seen Corzo have multiple bad rounds. Hazard there, we said that Corzo was miles back, but Hazard actually fell behind him temporarily, and it was only that mistake or further mistake from Corzo, I should say, that allowed Hazard to survive. So yeah, it seems like Deloitte is maybe playing it safe, and why wouldn't you at this point? You're top 5, nothing to lose, just hoping that players in front of you make more mistakes. The wall is still plaguing a few people, as Ice definitely looks like he respawned there, but does get out in front of Deloweed. And I think at this point, Deloweed is going to have to start full sending it a little bit harder, because those 4 players in front, they seem capable, they seem consistent, and they seem like they are starting to run away and bridge the gap between that red position in 5th place.
And I want to touch on something particularly interesting there as well, which is that Ice just full sent it at that wall in the middle of the map, and even with the respawn, still ended up basically building the gap back up in front of Deloweed, who slowed down fully to, you know, take it. And that's really interesting, right? In these rounds formats, it might just still be the correct decision to send it at that wall to try and maintain speed through the next couple of sections and the next couple of turns, because even with a respawn, it's worth maybe a second to just have that speed. Really interesting to see in that round, and ultimately Deloweed not able to catch back up. A really strong round at the top from the remaining 4 players, but only 3 will be left standing after this round, and one of them is still Brittany's Gears.
When you say full send, just a clarification on that, do you mean literally full speed, like no break, no slow down, or just like risking?
Ice was definitely risking hard. I don't know if it was full send, right? I'd be kind of slightly surprised if it was, but even just, you know, the riskier line that was being taken was holding a lot more speed out of that turn, and that speed lasts for the next couple of corners, and you land a little bit higher and able to turn a little bit more into the hairpin that comes after that as well. And you know, it's interesting. You can see Ice there going for it again, and Brittany's Gear slowed down to get it cleanly and has still dropped a long way down. Ice just massively extends the lead as a result.
Yeah, and I think that you highlighting that's probably where Ice has found the time relative to his competitors. I mean, he's driven a 109 dead compared to Hazard's 110-1, and yeah, it just seems like he has mastered that TMNF wall block. But we will look towards the back of the field, and Vortex has made several mistakes this round. We are top 4 now, so it's not like previous rounds where you could make some mistakes, and as long as you maintained a bit of speed, you were still in. That's a 109-1 again from Ice. My word.
So quick. Really
putting in the times. I think his main competitor is Hazard here, and unless Hazard makes like just a snowball of mistakes, I think it's probably going to be Hazard versus Ice in the final, which is what most people were expecting, but Brittany's Gears still in.
Yep. Being absolutely toxic, knocking out the rest of the competition.
Oh, don't start this. Don't start this.
Oh, listen, I've started it, and I think we're just on it now. Me desperately trying to remember other Britney Spears songs off the top of my head. I mean, Toxic is the main one, right? Like, that's the one we all throw on every couple of weeks.
He's going to hope that Hazard, into a few walls, is going to hit me baby one more time. Well, hey. It is close between Brittany and Hazard, though, as Brittany actually overtaking here. Ice once again full risking, but Hazard with a better exit off of that wall. This could be quite a close finish, and the closest finish that we've seen in the top competitors for quite some time on this map. Hazard has pulled a gap of about a second or two, and Brittany's Gears needs to full risk here, full send. Ice doesn't look like making a mistake anytime soon. It's just the one last jump over to that right-hand side that's been catching a few people out. No respawns, though. Brittany's Gears full sending on the inside. Ice is actually going to get sniped by Hazard here, but they are going to make it 1 and 2, as we expected. Great time from Brittany's Gears, though. That's still a 111.4, so, or 111.5, I should say. But yeah, Hazard driving a 109 there. I believe that's PB for him. And Ice with that 109.1 low PB. It's going to be quite the final if it's clean.
It's going to be excellent. Brittany's Gears is left saying, if you see Gamey after that last round, and it will be Hazard versus Ice to decide the winner of Mini RPG of the Week, Season 3, Week 6. And what a battle it is set to be. Both of these players have shown the consistency over the last couple of rounds. Both of them have the pace as well, not just the consistency, and this is set to be so exciting.
Oh, little clip from Hazard. That was an unfortunate one. It almost looked like a land bug, and Ice takes the lead, but for how long? Hazard with a small clip, but it hasn't cost him anything in terms of speed. Now onto the wall. Are both players going to make it? Ice actually full safing it this time, and it's allowed Hazard to come back through. See if they can make this little jump here. Ice actually clipping, losing time. Hazard is going to be about a second ahead here as we go into the final stages of the map. Oh,
Ice will
dead.
fully
See you later,
drop.
mate.
I don't know if Ice even knew that there was a gap there.
I didn't know there was a gap there.
Sure with how quickly how much speed he's had over the rest of the map at that point, it has been safe for Ice for the most point. Now over 10 seconds behind, hoping for a mistake from Hazard, doubting it will come through. Hazard will cruise across the line. A 1:10.2 is a fantastic time to finish things off on, and Hazard will win this week of Mini RPG of the Week.
Well, we called it right at the start, didn't we? We said it was a battle of survival, and that's exactly what that last round was. Both players pushing each other exceptionally hard. But Ice weirdly making a mistake where I have seen literally nobody make a mistake throughout the course of the entire cup. I didn't even realize there was a gap there to fall into, but Ice has, by some miracle, found it. And I think that respawn was quite a long one as well. So found himself a long way back. Hazard drove clean all the way to that finish line, and a deserving winner.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, my camera. I don't know what happened there. That's anyway, yeah, Hazard, absolutely incredible drive at the end of that one, and I'm delighted that Ice was still up there on the top two race, because Ice was driving so well towards the end. It was a little bit disappointing, you know, it always is, to see a big mistake decide the final round instead of getting it, but that is also just the nature of it. If I didn't actually like it, I probably wouldn't be here casting Mini RPG of the Week near every week.
Yeah, and honestly, like, Ice looked like he had the ultimate pace advantage over the rest of the field, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him hold the world record on that map if he does continue to play it, because I think it was the wall section. Just for the majority of the rounds, full risk that wall. It was only the last one where he was a bit tentative, maybe showing that he was a bit nervous in that last round and just wanted to ensure that he was keeping it clean and just hoping that Hazard would make a mistake. But in the end, it was Ice that made the mistake that cost him the victory. Perhaps, you know, playing it safe wasn't the play. Just got to full send it and hope for the best. But yeah, Hazard was right behind him throughout the entire duration of the cup. Warm-up rounds every time. Hazard was like second best, and yeah, either of them could have won it in that match, because it was just so easy to make a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, to be expected, right? Hazard is a fantastic RPG player. To close things out, Orion, we should mention again that the lore of this week's map was definitely that some of the people who were involved in whatever sci-fi planet we had going on, I think there were some giant insects who did spinning. You'd have to go back and watch last week's episode as well. Very informative stuff. Those insects, in order to escape persecution, did find a time machine and head back to the past. That is what's happened here. And so we were in the past for this map, and we hope everyone enjoyed it. A look back at, a proper TMNF style mini RPG. It really did hit that note. Congratulations to Drops for making a map that really did capture that feel, at least on the broadcast. And I'm sure plenty of the players talking about how difficult it was. I think captured the difficulty of some of those maps as well, and definitely the feel of it. You know, I think it was Corzo I saw in the in-game chat saying that he was all of a sudden worried about landing bugs again. You know, just those road borders bringing back some memories as well. And that's it. Mini RPG of the Week, Season 3, Week 6 will wrap up. Orion, lovely to have you back once again. We hope to see more of you in the future. Thanks again to everyone who's watched the broadcast and has played. The Irish, we'll talk about it later, okay? Could have definitely done better. Walshy, all right. I was looking for a top 5 there, and just losing out to Brittany's gears, a little bit disappointing. We'll see you all next week, and have a lovely rest of your week and weekend, everyone.
She looks back at me.